What's up, cuckolds? All right. Just when I think I'm done talking about the complete and utter emasculation of men in America, Raw proves me wrong once again. Okay, let's just start with a couple of nuances. Let's make this a Raw review, if you will, right? I watched Raw. I did not enjoy it for a variety of reasons. I have to start with this. First of all, Bobby Lashley's title reign has been subpar. Part of this is because it started right before WrestleMania. So his WrestleMania victory over Drew McIntyre doesn't feel as epic as it would, let's say, if he beat Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania for the title, right? There was no reason for this, right? I don't know why Edge won the Royal Rumble if Edge is going to go, lose, and then not come back. You know what I mean? So, why did that happen? Why not just have Bobby Lashley win the Royal Rumble, and then Edge can get a title shot by virtue of being Edge? You know what I mean? It's really that simple. But no, for some reason, they went with the way they did. The guy that was going to lose at WrestleMania, that wasn't going to beat the champion at all, right? That guy wins the Rumble. And the guy that could have actually gotten a push from winning at WrestleMania, doesn't get the Rumble treatment, which Bobby Lashley, I think, deserved. Not I think, obviously deserved more than Edge, who just came back and he's like, I'm going to win the Rumble now, motherfucks, man. So that's one thing. Secondly, Kofi Kingston. Make up your mind, WWE. Is Kofi Kingston a jobber or is he a main eventer? I do not see a way that Kofi Kingston can be legitimately booked to beat either Drew McIntyre or Bobby Lashley. Not only because he is a smaller, inferior man to both of them, but because he sucks and because he's been positioned as a jobber, as a tag team jabron this entire time. How is it that Kofi Kingston, who got completely cuckolded, completely humiliated by Omos, he all of a sudden gets thrusted into this quasi-main event spot? Omos beat his ass and pinned him with 1 foot. You know what I mean? Like, this guy shouldn't be anywhere near, motherfucks, the main event picture. Brock Lesnar beat him in 3 seconds. Drew McIntyre beat Brock in about 3 minutes. So by the transitive property, Drew McIntyre the match should start, he should grab Kofi by the neck, do like an overhead suplex, then beat the shit out of him by punching him while he's down, and then have him get up, hit the Claymore, that should be it, For some reason, Kofi Kingston is competitive. So make up your mind, motherfucks. But that's neither here nor there. The real issue here, honestly, the main issue isn't the fact that, the same thing that happened with Braun Strowman is now happening with Kofi Kingston, and that, the match ends in a no contest, and, they're going to do it again next week, Which, by the way, is a big problem in and of itself. There's so many problems with Raw. So many problems. This episode really encapsulates almost all of them. But there are so many problems, right? The first problem is no consistency, which we just talked about with Kofi Kingston going from mid-card jobber to main eventer in a day, right? Also, there's a problem with over-consistency in the sense of storylines that are the same. We just saw this. We just saw Drew McIntyre not beat Braun Strowman leading up to a triple threat. Now, I don't think this is going to happen again because that would be preposterous, but that's kind of what they're teasing here. And also, just the fact that we keep seeing the same shit. Now it's not even, shameful anymore. After the match ended in a no contest, Adam Pearce, by the way, let's get a real figure. Let's get a real GM. Not this jabron, not this nobody, right? Adam Pearce comes out, and he's like, oh, we're going to do the same match again. Same deal. What the fuck? We just saw this, and it ended in a no contest. If the other one ends in a no contest, that might be it, motherfucks. I might not watch Raw again. I might start watching SmackDown or something, This is ridiculous, man. Basically, the authority figure comes out and straight up just says, the thing that you just saw, well, guess what, motherfucks? We're going to see that again next week. Even though nobody wanted to see it this week. So that's a big problem. Just the same shit happening over and over and over again. You change one face here and there, and it's the same story. And, people are like, oh, great, I've seen this 1,000 times before, what's the difference between Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley? What's the difference? Why would it matter if Rhea Ripley is champion or if Charlotte Flair is champion? Why would anyone care? It doesn't make any sense. It's just if you had a feud between, I don't know, let's say Kalisto came back, and you had a feud with Sin Cara. And you're like, oh, who's going to win? Who the fuck gives a shit? Oh, Sin Cara Azul or Sin Cara Negro? The black Sin Cara or the blue Sin Cara? Who gives a fuck? They're the same shit. It's the same Sin Cara, motherfuckers. So there you go. You know, things need to make sense. In order for things to make sense, we need diverse characters. You know, like, I don't mean diverse characters the way that the liberals might use it today. Like, we need more gays and more minorities. Not like that. I mean diverse characters, actual characters, motherfuckers. You need to have, like, I always bring this up. Let's say you had Val Venus versus Godfather, right? The two of them could fit very naturally into a storyline as to who can get the most women, right? Because they're both, one's a pimp and one's a porn star, right? With that, you can have an actual story. Now, I granted, the story that I just came up with where they try to compete with for who can get more women, it's not a great storyline. I'm not saying it is, motherfucks, but I'm saying with that, you can open the door to many other storylines. So, for example, like, you could have something like Right to Censor, right, where they both join, right? There's a reason why Val Venus and The Godfather both joined Right to Censor, because their gimmicks are very similar in that they're like all about the women, right? And now they're all about not that. They're about preventing people from being lewd and, you know, all that other stuff, right? And then they can feud with like APA. It's a natural feud. See what I'm saying? That's what needs to happen. You know, when you have Charlotte Flair and fucking Rhea Ripley, they're the same character, you know? One of them is the queen, the other one is this is my brutality. Which, by the way, no one's explained it to me yet. What the fuck does that even mean? This is my brutality. What is your brutality? What is it? Last I checked, you were getting your ass kicked on NXT. You know what I'm saying? Last I checked, this broad was out there getting her ass kicked by Io Shirai. What the fuck is Io Shirai, by the way? I haven't watched NXT in so long. I keep forgetting that it's on Tuesdays. So maybe I'll watch it tonight, motherfucks. So anyways, the next match is Nikki Cross versus Rhea Ripley in a 2-minute beat the clock challenge, right? As if this could get any worse, right? Nikki Cross is basically one set of releases away from being gone from this company, you know? And this is how you know. She's never on TV. She has no character at all. And she's in these type of situations, right? Where technically she won, but the whole point was, can Rhea Ripley beat this jobber in 2 minutes, right? You'd think Rhea Ripley was Hulk Hogan. You know what I mean? Rhea Ripley's Rhea Ripley, man. She's getting her ass kicked 2 weeks ago by Io Shirai, like I said. But whatever, you know, Rhea Ripley, one of the worst pushes of the main event, maybe ever. Maybe ever, motherfucks. Like, right there with Lashley. Just like these pushes that come out of nowhere. All of a sudden, this person's serious. You know what I mean? Yeah, okay, Lashley was a dominant U.S. champion, but that means nothing now. That means absolutely nothing. Sheamus is a U.S. champion now, motherfucks. Sheamus, who in the last WWE draft was drafted in like the 6th round, just beat Humberto Carrillo, who was drafted in the 2nd round. And Ricochet was drafted like in the 3rd round, you know? The U.S. title means fuck all, okay? It means nothing. So there you go. Rhea Ripley couldn't beat Nikki Cross in 2 minutes, but even then it was presented as if she just got like really like angry and wanted to beat her ass. Not that she couldn't do it. Then Charlotte beat Asuka, which, I mean, how many times have we seen this match? Remember when this was a big deal when they were going to wrestle at WrestleMania? Now there's like no more WrestleMania matches to be made because everyone's wrestled everyone a gajillion times. Then we have Cedric Alexander versus Shelton Benjamin. To Cedric Alexander's credit, he comes out and cuts a promo that actually wasn't bad. You know, I mean, you know, from the perspective of Cedric Alexander, like, it's not great, but like, considering Cedric Alexander is not known for being this good mic guy, you know, it was pretty good. And basically, long story short, he pretty much called Shelton Benjamin washed up, a has-been, and he said that the Hurt Business just booted him. Not both of them, but they just booted Shelton, right? Whatever. The correct thing to do here would have been to, like, have Cedric Alexander stay in the Hurt Business, right? And then have another person come in and be his partner. You know? Like, just have someone else be his partner, and then have Charlie Haas come back, and then we get the world's greatest tag team again, which was fucking awesome, by the way. They were fucking cool as shit. So there you go, right? By the way, what the fuck happened with Mason T-Bar kind of being affiliated with the Hurt Business? I mean, these guys, they also have, like, you know, they also have released written on them, released soon, motherfucks. Then we have Riddle versus Xavier Woods, in what was exactly what you'd expect it to be. A pretty decent match, right? Xavier Woods, all things I say about him, I believe to be true. He sucks, but as far as an in-ring competitor, he can definitely hold his own. The storyline here was Matt Riddle is like kicking this guy's ass while trying to also impress Randy Orton. Riddle hits an RKO, and that's the end of that. Then we have Jackson Ryker versus AJ Styles. This was my favorite match of the night for a couple of reasons. Number one, the match starts out with AJ Styles doing a standing dropkick, which is badass because that's the kind of advantage AJ Styles would have over a beast like Jackson Ryker. Like, for those of you that don't know, I really like Jackson Ryker. I think he's great, very underutilized, and honestly, aside from these like monsters like Braun Strowman and Omos and these types of guys, I believe that Jackson Ryker is one of the toughest people in Raw. Like, I believe that if everyone in Raw had to fight each other to the death, I think Jackson Riker would come out on top. He would have a chance at least, you know? Yeah, I know Lashley was an MMA fighter, but at a certain point, some people are just tougher and stronger, and I believe Jackson Riker is one of those people. Number one, look at him. Number two, he was a machine gunner in the Army, motherfuckers. This guy rained death on people, so this guy should be like a main eventer. So first of all, I'm happy that he won. He beat AJ Styles. He hit him with like a black hole slam or a boss man slam for those of you that have been watching wrestling for a long time. And basically, but it happened after Elias interfered. I'm waiting for the moment when Jackson Riker just destroys Elias and just develops his own gimmick, you know? His gimmick should really be a shell-shocked veteran. His gimmick should be this guy's fucking insane and unhinged because he's seen and done horrible things in war. That's the only gimmick that makes sense for this guy. I don't know why they're giving these ridiculous gimmicks of, oh, I listened to Elias's album and it changed my life. Shut the fuck up with that bullshit. Nobody listened to Elias's album. So then afterwards, Omos comes and tries to beat up Elias and chases them both out and then tackles Elias. Luckily, Elias took the tackle, so Jackson Riker came out looking strong here, in my opinion. Now, here's the problem with this. Here's the thing about Omos. He's a big, strong guy, and he was running, and people were like, look at the speed of Omos. He wasn't that fast at all. He was actually kind of awkward. He was actually kind of awkward in running. I think this guy is, like, not athletic at all. He's just a big guy who, like, I don't even think he's, like, strong. Like, he's strong because he's big. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think he's a guy that goes and lifts every day. He's just a freak of nature, you know? So it's like what's going to happen when we have, like, Braun Strowman versus him? You know what I mean? Like, Braun Strowman would tear this guy apart. So it's like, it's preposterous. Like, Braun Strowman is more athletic, he's stronger, and he's just as big almost. So he's kind of limited. Omos is kind of limited. Next up, we have Sheamus versus Roberto Carrillo. Nobody cares about this at all. Sheamus wins with a roll-up, the ultimate indignity. He beats like a luchador type guy with a luchador type move. Then Ricochet comes out, and these guys just fly around the ring hitting Sheamus. No one cares. A complete waste of time. Roberto Carrillo will never be a star. Ricochet will never be a star. Sheamus was a star. This is just a waste of everyone's time. This shouldn't be on TV, you know, especially when you have people like Jeff Hardy and even Jinder Mahal, just for some reason not on TV. I don't get it, right? Next up, we have, this was like the ultimate disrespect. We have them in the main event. We have Natalya and Tamina. Tamina, who hasn't been on TV for like 5 years, right, is now in the main event versus Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax for the women's tag team titles, right? They wrestle. Long story short, the good guys win. No one person gives a flying fuck. And here's where we get to the real cherry on the sundae, motherfucks. The cherry on the sundae. Shayna Baszler just starts intimidating Reginald, grabbing him by the collar, basically, and saying like blah 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 blah. You're a piece of shit. Da, 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 you cost us the match. You've ruined everything. And then next week, it's gonna be Shayna Baszler versus Reginald. Now, I couldn't think of anything less interesting to make me want to tune in next week. Think about that. Back in the day, like, here's the thing about the Attitude Era that everyone forgets. People are like, oh, the in-ring product wasn't great. I don't care. You know, who gives a shit if Shayna Baszler and fucking Reginald have a 10-star match, right? I don't want to see it. I don't give a fuck, you know? Like, back in the day, you would have something like this. Stone Cold is being taken away in an ambulance after DX beats his ass. And then while he's in the ambulance, someone would like hit the ambulance with like a monster truck or something, right? And then the question would be like, next week you want to tune in to see, number one, is Stone Cold alive? And number two, what's he going to do about this, right? You have a reason to tune in. You know, with this, you have no reason to tune in because nobody cares about this match, right? And also, like, the fact that this guy's being bullied by Shayna Baszler is ridiculous. Like, Reginald obviously is a trained wrestler. Obviously, he's an athletic guy. And obviously, in real life, he would probably beat her ass. I know what all the neckbeards are thinking. Oh, but hater, like Shayna Baszler is a UFC legend. No, she's not, motherfucks. She's a mediocre UFC fighter when UFC was just starting to introduce women. She is not a good fighter. Like, if Shayna Baszler went to the UFC right now, like, Amanda Nunes would destroy her in literally 2 seconds. I don't think it would take more. She would beat the shit out of her. I think like if you go to any MMA gym and you pull out a random girl, they would beat the shit out of Shayna Baszler. Shayna Baszler is not athletic and she's not a great fighter by any stretch of the imagination. So the average strong guy would beat the shit out of her, no doubt about it. You know what I'm saying? And Reginald is obviously stronger than she is because he's a trained wrestler and he's a male and he's about the same size as her. But the way that she was emasculating him is preposterous. It's part of this greater narrative, of course. I'm not one of those people who thinks it's a conspiracy to emasculate us all because, quite honestly, everyone's already emasculated. I mean, like, One of my friends sent me like a skit from SNL, and I almost threw up all over myself from what I was seeing. But that's neither here nor there. The point is, just the fact that this trope has been going on for way too long, motherfuckers. Way too long, this trope has been going on. The trope of the emasculated male wrestler in front of female wrestlers. It's been going on for quite a while, right? Like when you have like a male referee, a male referee in the match, the women can bully him, they can push him around, they can do all these things, right? And I get it. Obviously, like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, well, what if, like, I don't know, what if Pentagon decided to, like, attack, whatever, Audrey Edwards, whatever the fuck her name is, right? I know it's not the same thing. There's a double standard, but I understand why there is a double standard. That's not even my issue. My issue isn't even that. My issue is quite simply this, motherfuckers. It's quite simply this. Why don't we do something like this? Like, once in a while, this would be a good time to do that. You book the match in a certain way. You book the match in a certain way. You basically have the match start, and how about you just have Reginald beat her ass and pin her clean? That's what should happen. First of all, that subverts expectations. It buries Shayna Baszler, who obviously isn't going anywhere. You know what I mean? And perhaps, most importantly of all, it creates this attitude where, like, no, hold on a second, bro. Just because, like, you're a girl and I'm a guy and I'm not supposed to hit you, doesn't mean I can't out-wrestle you and pin you, let's say, right? It creates a scenario where, like, dude, wait a second, why is Becky Lynch out there beating up security guards? Like, if you guys remember when Becky Lynch was big, I said, why not, instead of having Becky Lynch beat up security guards, you just have one security guard. Like, you introduce, like, I don't know, Karrion Kross, right? You introduce him as a security guard. He's just a security guard. You don't introduce him as Karrion Kross. He's, whatever the fuck his name is. John Phillips, right? He's John Phillips, whatever the fuck. Let's say that's his name, right? John Phillips, security guard. He's in security guard uniform. Becky Lynch is beating his share of security guards. And then this big security guard comes forward. She tries to hip toss him. And he just grabs her and pins her down. Just holds her arms down and says, calm down, broad. That's enough of this, right? Or you can introduce him as like an unhinged crazy guy, like a Snitsky type, right? Which would fit in better. And Becky Lynch starts throwing security guards around. She goes up to this guy, and he just gives her like a nice Saito suplex, right? And then, like, Michael Cole's like, oh my god, the security has really gone, like, gone overboard here, right? And then you introduce him as like this crazy security guard, right, who wants to be a wrestler and is insane, right? That would be an unconventional way to introduce someone, and in my opinion, it'd be way better than introducing Karrion Kross the way they did, with some broad coming out lip-syncing a song and an hourglass being turned upside down every few hours. No, motherfuckers. We can't have people just completely destroying kayfabe as a concept, right? In kayfabe and in reality, right? A lot of these security guards are like CM Punk was he was part of like John Cena's like entrance back in the day, right? There's all these people that have had these roles as security guards or as entrance people that have become like wrestlers. You know what I mean? So with that in mind, it's like, imagine if I recognize 5 years from now one of the security guards Becky Lynch like threw around and he becomes U.S. champion. What the fuck does that mean, No, motherfuckers. Can't be doing this anymore. The complete emasculation of male wrestlers has to stop, And, I mean, Reginald, I don't really give a shit about him. I don't care if they keep him or fire him. Like, he's not entertaining. But the general idea should stand. Instead of just having Shayna Baszler predictably beat his ass next week, how about have Reginald win clean? Not win with a distraction from Nia Jax, which might very well happen, but win clean. With that being said, this episode of Raw was one of the worst I've ever seen in my life. The main event was for the Women's Tag Team Championship, which is like a set of titles that belongs on the pre-show. The amount of people that wrestled here were like the amount of jobbers were like, it was 90% jobbers. It was like 2 main eventers that were there. So there you go, motherfuckers. That's what I got to say about that. Total garbage. And with that being said, see you later, cucks.